Hey, good morning, everyone. Long time no see. So let me know if you can see me and hear me well, and we're gonna get started coding some stuff today. It's been a long time, but it's been a tough month for everyone in Kiev. Well, for everyone in Ukraine. Right, I'm gonna arrange the windows. Hey guys. And today I wanted to show you some ideas from the alireza.com website. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Nice to see all of you. Right, so it's a recent award-winning website. I'm gonna switch the windows probably. We can get started. Hello to Taiwan. Nice to see you guys. New Zealand. The heck. Now we have like Ethiopia, New Zealand. Crazy geography. Romania. Yeah, I'm sorry guys, in the PST time zone. All right, let's switch the screen. Yeah, so here's the website. I wouldn't say it's like that super tech complicated, but there are some neat ideas, and a couple of Patreon subscribers asked me about that one and about the principle on how you combine different 3D scenes into one and into the scroll, and this is all together. And I wanted to show you like this simple idea and how you can do it, and also taking a chance to get back online because it's been a really long time. Oh, hello to Mexico and India. Buenos dias, Tijuana. Oh, probably buenas noches. All right. All right then. So let's get started. I'm going to call this one Alireza. By the way, the website is done by the amazing Immersive Garden Studio. You probably know them because, well, they did a lot of super cool websites. So it's you have to know them. Like a lot of really cool experiences have been done by the Immersive Garden. I don't particularly know who is responsible, like the exact people responsible for the website, but maybe I'm gonna credit them a bit later on in the comments. Yeah, Slava Ukraini. All right. And so let's just create the folder. Right, I have the folder. I'm gonna put my template. The three.js have been evolving lately, I should say. There's some color space changes. There are some structural changes. There's a different way to use the Draco loader now. And maybe I can just update you really fast on what you, at least on the Draco loader. Desktop, Alireza. And then open the editor. I've started using Vite and I really like it, except the places where I need some workers or some more advanced stuff. It just breaks in those, but still parcel does the job. All right, so npx Vite, go. Let's go. Right. Have the template. I'm gonna arrange the windows. Yay. And I'm gonna bring back the chat. It's really nice to see all of you guys. Thank you for coming by. This is a 3D model, but I think it was updated a little bit because I think they have a leaf growth at some point, so the leaves should be growing. There should be some animation. So basically they overloaded some materials from the mesh, so they could animate some parts of the mesh. I don't know where the leaves are growing exactly, but I've seen some leaf growing animation in there. Okay, I have to close this. Good morning to Slovenia as well. Right, there gotta be some leaf growing stuff. Where's that? Or maybe it's one of those things that didn't make it into the production. Right, how do I get back? So first of all, the website is really nicely made. But I do hate all the websites that hijack my scroll, and this one kind of does that. I think they're using, they actually, I mean, I know for sure that they are using the vanilla version of the Poimandres team modules. And this is really a nice example, and I would try to use it as well today. But first of all, I'm not going to be using the Palm. I'm just going to create a couple of different scenes, because it doesn't really matter if it's a GLTF model or is this just a couple of cubes. It's not that important in the end. So let's start. Gonna create a couple of different scenes. So first of all, create scene. And here I'm gonna create scene, new scene, and then I'm gonna return it in the end. And in between those, I'm gonna just fill this scene with some cubes or some stuff. Link to the example website. Here it is. Yeah, I'm mostly good, but it's kind of, you know, it's not directly it doesn't directly impact you, all the stuff that is happening. But I mean, I'm alive and I'm not on the front lines yet, so it doesn't directly impact me. But there's still, well, just as all of the Ukrainians, it does have some impact on me, because I mean, there are times when I'm there are a couple of modes for the Ukrainians now. They are either outraged or depressed. I don't know. I think there's just two of those. And then there's a rage again. It's like, what the fuck? Why would you do this? Or why would you do that? Why would you do such weird shit to people? You know what I'm talking about. Oh, okay. Okay. Calm down. The cubes. All right. So let's, what's that gonna be? I'm gonna use some matcap materials just to simplify this stuff. Matcaps, just some random stuff. I wanted something reddish. Something like red. Okay. This red enough. And I wanted something green. I'm going to use a couple of matcaps. I'm going to create a couple of different colored themed scenes, and then I'm going to switch between them using the idea from the alireza.com. Yeah, exactly. This is always a pain. So I think it's like usually better to stick with the normal scroll, or maybe some Lenis or locomotive scroll. Even locomotive breaks on mobile and some touch devices, but still. Hello to South Korea. All right, we have a huge geography. Now I'm feeling responsible to keep you entertained. So right now I'm just going to create a couple of nicely looking different scenes. I want it red, I want it green, and I want it, okay, this green enough. And maybe a gray one. Matcaps are really underappreciated way of using the lighting, if you ask me, and the gray one. And I'm gonna get them. PNG. I don't remember, but I'd better write the URL. Another reason I like white a lot more than the parcel is, I'm gonna show you right now why. Because I mean, white is faster than the parcel, but it's not critically faster. The parcel is still fast enough for such small daemons and small module building stuff. So this one's gonna be gray PNG, and then I could use and create scene. That don't really need the color in here. I could just use and just load one of them. Start with the red one. So red one will represent rage, the gray one will represent depression, and the green one hope for the better. All right, and here sphere, it's a box geometry. Let's use sphere geometry, but really under detailed. So it's going to be some kind of icosahedron probably, or stuff like that. And then let's just use a couple of those. Random U3. Just building basic random scene right now. And then random direction. Clone. Just random. And then scene at clone. Right, this should do the job. And right now I can create the scene. So in here, instead of just using this, I'm gonna go with this create scene. And this should do something, right? Well, it apparently did, but it's just all too big. Just all too big. So just to switch between scenes, I need those scenes, right? That's why I'm trying to build those to the big one. And then I also don't need this. Okay, maybe more detailed. Right, so now we have some kind of weird objects. Maybe box geometry. And then just some random scene. Hello to Pakistan. And wow, you're here for magic. Oh god, this is a huge pressure. All right. First of all, what I wanted to show you why I like white a lot more than parcel. So when I do the npx white build now, and I'm gonna go to Alireza, the same way as a parcel, it creates me a dist folder. But this dist folder looks like this. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it's just index HTML and then all the assets. Whereas if you go into the parcel dist folder, it's gonna look like this. It's just all throw in the same folder. Probably there are some plugins or stuff where you can fix it, but this is just happening by default. I don't have to do anything with the white, and it just creates a nicely looking dist folder for me, which is much more shareable if you want to like transfer the build folder to anyone. All right, now we have this. I kind of want to add the background as well. So let's also add the background. And for this, the simplest way to do this, I'm going to look for vignette. I'm going to get the vignette. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to create 3 backgrounds, the red, the blue, and the gray one, obviously. Just to put my objects nicely on that background. How do I do that? I'm going to create the overlay. I'm going to also get the red. So this is the color. And then multiply probably should be enough, right? It's gonna be the background. Let's get the background. And then when I'm creating the scene, background texture, this, and then scene background texture. Right, this should do the job for me, but I have to run it again. Hello to Poland. Not worthy. Why? All right, so now we have some kind of generative scene, and I can I don't know, make it 30 or something like this. Some kind of nice scenes. Maybe I'll create them different if I have time. Now let's create 3 of those scenes, so I can switch between them. I can even have a couple of cameras. So before doing this, I'm going to create the array. So these scenes going to be an array of objects, and then let's call this one, okay, background, this one background 1, and this one background 2, and I'm going to create another backgrounds later on. And all right, so this one is going to be for the red scene, the background red one, and then the matcap, the red one. And well, that's it, right? I only need the background so far and the matcap. So we'll be able to create them in a loop. So this one's going to be just BG, this one is going to be gray, and the last one is going to be green. Background 2, background 1. Right, let's create those as well right away, so we don't need to edit the images anymore. So the gray one probably be just something like this. Gonna be the BG1. Oh, I'm so not used to streaming again. Just sitting quietly in my room. And then the green one, the last one. Just gonna take the color. BG2 background. This is the boring stuff. Hey, I'm good, thank you. But it's been a really tough May, because we had like almost every day we had some missiles or drones coming into my city, and I could literally see them exploding from a window, because I'm living on the 15th floor, and yeah, kind of weird. All right then, so when I'm creating the scene, I'm gonna use the background and the matcap. Right, so I just need to make this step from the creating one scene to creating 3 scenes. So we'll be able to render them separately. Okay. So what I'm gonna do these scenes for each. It's gonna be like an object. So right now we're just mostly preparing the stuff to happen on our screen. I just need to do that. Okay. And then this O scene, I'm gonna create the scene. It's gonna be this create scene from the O BG and the O matcap. Now create scene should take create scene should take 2 variables. Create scene begin and matcap. And in here I'm going to take the BG one. Let's call it the background. This one I'm gonna call it matcap. And this is gonna be the matcap, and this one is gonna be called the background. Right, so now we don't see anything because we don't have this scene variable now, and we can't really render anything. But we can get these scenes 0 scene, for example, and then render this one. So these scenes 0 scene. Yeah, and it's going to be working. And the first one is going to be the gray one, except that I'm not really using the backgrounds yet, right? It's just back 2. Right, so this one's going to be a gray one. It's like a depression. Well, it's just symbolic anyway, but... And this is the green one. Right, so now we have 3 scenes. I could also... what I could do here, geometry, change the geometry and change the number of those. And in here could be box geometry. Smaller than that. Okay, I'm not using this object yet. And in here, I'm creating this one. Right, now it's working properly, except that they are too small. Gotta be faster. Right, so now we have something. I think we should be ready to go there. So yeah, next part. First of all, hello to Zagreb. Next part is that they actually use the use gesture. Use gesture is mostly used with the React and in the React Fiber community and with the React Spring, but it is actually working on the vanilla version as well. So we have we have here a vanilla version of the of this module, and we can just use that probably. I mean, in this particular case, I don't see a really huge benefit of using it, but just for the sake of sticking with the same approach, I could use that. So I'm gonna install this one. I'm gonna also get the lethargy, so we need it. Lethargy npm, and let's install it as well. Right, so I'm going to show you how the transitions are made and how they capture all the gestures in here. I think they're using not exactly lethargy, but some similar similar code to lethargy, because in here, I think you could also switch through a couple of sections if you scroll really fast. But it does take some time, because all the I mean, I think the main trick on the Alireza to make this work, because the main problem with those swiping and scrolling transitions is that the scroll event lasts so long that you could scroll 2 or 3 sections all at once if you really make a huge scroll on the trackpad or on the mouse. And for this reason, there usually a set of timeouts or some metrics how to determine that it's actually intentional or non-intentional scroll. And on this website, I think one of the tricks is that you use a really long transition, like 2 or 3 seconds, like on this website. And with such long transitions, you just can't do such a long scroll. Hello to France. We really have a lot of, I mean, it seems like everybody's from different countries. And this is so inspiring. So I hope you guys find this useful, what I'm trying to share here. Okay, so I have lethargy in place. I also have the gesture vanilla. And let's see how you can use this one. So first of all, I'm going to attach some events. I'm going to need to remove probably orbit controls. So it probably also listens to all those events. Then I need to get the lethargy and get the use gesture. So I'm going to import from lethargy, and I'm going to import use wheel, but not from React. See, Copilot doesn't understand that I'm not really using React in here, so I think it's use gesture vanilla. Am I right? Does it have something? So it really amazes me how far the Paul Henschel and all the community pushed the React Refiber and all the infrastructure around it. It pushed them so far that we are actually now using, we are able to use those modules in vanilla JavaScript, not just in the React environment. And this is exactly the example of that. And on the Alireza website, they do use this use, which I was surprised to find out, but they do use the use gesture module, which is just a nice wrap over all of those browser events and the user inputs. Right, how do you use it then? There should be an example somewhere. Yeah, so I think now that I have the use wheel, do I have it, by the way? I wanted to check that. Yeah, probably worth trying to run the server. Come on. Does not provide an export named use wheel. Which export then it does provide? Should I use the use wheel in here? Something. I think I had an example somewhere of me using this one. How do you use this use wheel? Oh, it's a wheel gesture. All right, it's called the wheel gesture. It's not a use wheel, it's a wheel gesture. Okay, then. Do we have the wheel gesture? Right, we have the wheel gesture 2. Okay, then. Wheel gesture. I believe, and the way to use it, create another wheel gesture, and then I think the second parameter could be just the handler. I could even use it, I think, on the body itself. All right, so the scroll is working, but I'm probably getting a lot of those errors. Let's see what it produces me. So I think it's pretty early yet, and it's all in beta version, but you are able to use those wrappers, which are proved to be like, because all the modules are probably quite old now, the ones that are using the gestures, but the ones in the Poimandres community are actually the new ones. And it's really nice that they are being ported to vanilla. Yeah, my starter template, you can find it in any of my code drops articles or in any of my courses. I start every course from developing it. You can also find it on the Patreon, and I also code it on the Stream 42. I don't really share it as is because then the people try to ask me for some support and some questions about it, and that's problematic to me. But you can find it almost everywhere in my work. So every code that I share probably has this template. Right, so let's see what's actually outputted here. Oh no, haven't saved it. Right, so we get some object, and what does that object has? A lot of stuff actually this object has, a lot of information that you could use for your events. It also has the actual event. And the problem with those events, you can see when I'm scrolling right now, I'm getting plenty of those events. And I can't really use those events to get from one page to the other page, like to transition from them, because like 15 of those events. But you could use the lethargy to check for the actual intended user events. And to do this, I'm going to just console log the output of the lethargy. I have to invoke the lethargy, I think, first. Maybe this lethargy. And then console log, right? This lethargy check, and then state event, right? Because state event has the actual mouse wheel event in here. Yeah, state event. Yeah, sure, I could also share it in the Discord. It's not in secret, it's just that I don't want people to have one link because then I need to support it. Just a lazy moment here. All right, so now I have the lethargy check. I'm gonna remove the previous one. Right, so now it only outputs my intention. So you see, it outputs really fast a couple of events stating the direction, but then it's just outputting false because all of the rest events is just the inertia events, not an actual user events. So you could use these events and a small set timeout probably, because there are still happening a couple of them for some reason, by the way. That shouldn't be probably, but anyway, it still does a good job because they only happen at the start, because otherwise you're really getting a lot of those events. You can see if I scroll really fast, it's just 100 of those events. Right, thank you. Okay, let's let's arrange the windows again. Get back here. Right. So now we have this. Now we have a couple of scenes. Now I want to create another scene, which will be. Now it's time to actually create this animation. So we have 3 scenes. We can all render them. By the way, a really important tip to all of you, a performance tip. If you go to the three.js renderer, which has been overlooked pretty often, but in this particular case, it's really important to use this performance trick. There's a compile method on the three.js renderer, which accepts scene and the camera. So, well, why this is needed? Because right now I will be switching between those scenes, and I will only render the scene that I need to render. And the first time you render the scene, the compilation of all the shaders will happen on that scene. It doesn't happen until you first time render it. But there's a way not to just fake render it, but just to directly say to the renderer to compile all the shaders in the scene. So it doesn't take time on the first render. So it's just gonna render smoothly the first frame. And this is why we need this. And in my case, it will look something like this. I don't really have a complicated scenes in here, but anyway. So have the scene, and then I'm gonna do this renderer compile. And this scene with this camera. So I will be using the same camera for all the 3 scenes. And this just this one liner will help you to avoid the stuttering when you first come into this scene. All right then. So what else do I need? For every of those scenes, I will also need to create some render target. So, target is gonna be a new 3 webgl render target. With this width and this height. So it's just a usual render target. All right. I'm not sure if I need to change the color spacing for this texture, but we'll see later on. So right now, what do we have? We have 3 separate scenes, and it's not quite clear yet how to combine them. And we also have the one camera that renders them, and we have we have a way of transitioning between like with a gesture with the mouse wheel. And also have some JavaScript error probably. Cannot because cannot read properties of undefined. And why is that? Because I'm probably creating renderer below. Okay. Okay, now it's all good. Now let's check if we still have all of those scenes in place. Right, we do. What else? What's next? I need to create another scene, which I'm going to be using for combining those scenes. So for this, I'm going to create, I'm going to do something like this, init post. Because it's mostly like post-processing now. And in here, I'm going to create another camera. It's going to be an orthographic camera this time. Let's make it the 1. I don't really need the aspect ratio, probably. Custom could be 1. Then let what equals. And in here, I need the plain buffer geometry 1 by 1. But is it 1 by 1? It's probably 2 by 2. Because the frustum is 1, and it's going to be... No, it's actually 1 by 1. Right. And then need a material for this one. And for the material, I'm going to copy my shader material that I had somewhere in here. Yeah, like this one. I don't really need this add objects function at all, but I could use my material in here. Do texture 1, texture 2, or I could just use the matcaps that I have already. Or the backgrounds, whatever. There's a lot of preparation needed to finally get to the actual animation. Oh, thank you. Nice. Would be nice to see that thesis of yours. Like, you can just send it to me privately. It would be just curious to see how could it be useful in some other contexts. Because it's really nice to see that. All right, so I have just 2 random textures for now in my shader material, and I'm going to use this material in here. All right, we are approaching the final animation. Quad, and then I'm going to create another scene. Now, this post scene. And now this post scene, I'm going to add my quad. It's going to be this quad added to my post scene, and then I should be able, I have a camera, post camera, let's call this one post camera, post scene. So I should be able to render something with my, okay, still some JavaScript errors. What's happening here? Right, I'm still using this. Aspect is not defined. This post scene is not a function. Right, now it's all fine, and I can try to render instead of this, I can try to render this. This post scene and this post camera. And I don't see anything, and that's because I have a lot of errors in here. This post scene, do I run this init post? But I run it too late. Right, so we do see the material. Now I could go to shader and set two uniforms, uTexture1, uTexture2. And I could just do like 4 equals, yeah, uTexture1 VUV, and then I could use this T as a texture. And yeah, we see our texture. So it does work properly. What else can I do now? I can just render two scenes basically. So in here, let's say that we have the current one is going to be this current equals 0. And this means that in my render loop, I need to render two scenes for now. So I'll need to render this renderer set render target is going to be these scenes, this current target. Then I'm going to render this one. So I'm going to render the current scene because I have the area of the scenes. I will always be able to get one. And the camera stays the same. Then I will render the next scene because I will need it for transition. Scene +1, +1. Or probably maybe better to do it like this. Next. Yeah, thanks Copilot. Really helps to write a lot of code. All right, and then I need to switch back to null render target, and then I will be able to render my final. Right. And then I also need to use both of those textures. So I'm going to use, okay, will Copilot guess what I need to do? It actually does, right? It's not, it's kind of straightforward what the code I should write next, but still it fascinates me that it kind of guesses that after I render those textures, I will need to use them. Yeah, like this, and then the second one like this. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but still fascinates me. It actually used all of my variables in place, and everything is correct. So after I save this, I should be able to see this scene now. And then what comes next? I can enable my settings for a second. This setup settings, this one is called, just to be able to change some kind of progress. And I'm gonna set this progress to my material. This material, I mean, it is as though it just listens to what I'm saying, right? I just need to set this progress. Well, thanks for that. Well, this I don't need now. Okay. And I didn't set the progress uniform on my material, so I need to do that as well. Remove this. Value is 0. Come on, what else is wrong here? Undefined progress. This settings progress. Oh, that's because I set up settings too late again. Right, so now I have this progress. Have it here. Just for the sake of testing, I'm gonna multiply this one. It does work. Now I could do something like the float sweep equals step. Progress VUV Y. What this does basically is creates me a transition variable. Like, let's make it like this, and then like 3. A common mistake with this kind of line would be to use this, because that means that the alpha will also be 0, and at the start you wouldn't be able to see the actual value of your sweep value. So it's better to use just on the color to use sweep, and then you should be able to see it. Right, so now we have the sweep. Maybe I should switch this. Although I don't know which one. Like the progress is coming from 0 to 1, and this means I'm switching from one section to the other. And this means that I should be able now to create two textures, T1, texture 2, and then boom, 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 boom. And for each of those, well, basically final texture is going to be a mix between those, and then I could just use it like this. So we just created a basic scene. Now it almost looks like a simple image transition, but it actually is, because when it comes to the textures, it actually is exactly like that, and is exactly what is used on Alriza. It's not that complicated, but there's some kind of tricks on aligning all the scenes. And what I'm trying to do here in the end, I want to use the transition from the Tao Tajima and combine it with the scroll and see what's going to happen. Let's just see what's going to happen. Just trying to create something interesting. Still like 15 minutes to go. Probably should make it. Should be looking cool. Let's also create the function update. Or, well, basically I could update just all of them. Just not to mess around with all of this. So I'm gonna hello to Vietnam. Oh my gosh, the geography is expanding during this 1 hour. So we had Mexico and we had New Zealand, and this basically wraps up the whole globe. I mean, those are the furthest points from me. That's why I mentioned them. Right. I wanted to update all these scenes. These scenes for each. And then, well, yeah, we can do something like this. It's the rotation. Probably forgot. Right, now it's all great. But go to Indonesia. I don't think I've had South Africa in a while, actually. I don't think I remember this one. But this would be the other furthest point from me, basically. Yeah, that's true. It's like the bottom part of the globe. At least the globe that we learn here in Europe. Right. So now what I want to do, I want to use the transition from the Tao Tajima. If you remember, maybe you watched the videos that I did about Tao Tajima, the short ones that I did. And what was the Tao Tajima? Yeah, it's this one. Just basically a 1 minute video with this kind of transition. I really recommend you to use, to look at it. I think there was some code examples as well. And it also started with a simple transition like that, then the angular transition like that, and then, yeah, we could use the smooth step, and then bam, 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 and we can use something pretty cool to transition between two. So right now, I think I'm already should be able to use the transition with the JSUB. I could just transition between those two scenes. But there's another way, another pretty cool way to transition between those scenes that I just came to my mind that I should be able to use in here. This is all fine, and I can connect it to my wheel event. But what if we do not hijack the scroll and make it just a smooth scroll experience? And for that, let's grab the virtual scroll thing. Let's grab the virtual scroll. I believe I've used it in some previous streams for also the smooth scroll experience, but let's try to use it here. So basically, if you want the experience that has been made by the immersive garden, you will need to title every wheel gesture and then listen until the next wheel gesture happen, and then transition to your scene to the next step with these variables like the current and the next, and then switch them and calculate each next scene. But what if we try to make it even like the smooth experience? The drawback is that you will be able to see the middle of the transition because you have a control over the scroll. But the benefit is that you will be able to see the middle of the transition as well, right? This is the benefit as well. So, what I need to do, create this scroller here. And why? All right, shouldn't we tie this virtual scroll to some element? I don't know, but let's see. I'm also listening with the use gesture right now and both with the virtual scroll, and this might be an issue here. I don't know, maybe in the final demo I will create it with the gesture, but kind of right now I want to show you a super cool idea that still fascinates me through the years from the Tao Tajima website. Oh, let's do this. Should be possible within those 5-10 minutes. Can you transition state and render it async? I'm not quite, I don't think I'm getting the idea here, but I'm really curious on what you mean. So right now we have the virtual scroll and we have some kind of number. I'm going to normalize this number. So this current state of 0. And now this current state is going to be event y divided by 1000, let's say. And now if we scroll, we're going to get, okay, I should output this current scroll. So now if I scroll, I'm getting something in between 0 and 1, right? I mean, we could probably divide it by something like 5000 even. Because the scroll really escalates through the time for some reason. Or is it the event y is the current, is like a current scroll? And I should just add this thing in here. I think it is, right? Or maybe not. Okay, let's just output this event. I forgot what variable should I take. This should probably be some delta or something. Delta y is what I'm interested in, basically. Yeah. And delta y is pretty big, so probably should be divided by the 1000. And now let's see this current state. Just trying to get some nicely looking number. Well, maybe 4000, so it's not as fast. Yeah, so in one single scroll I'm able to get to the 1 and then to the 2 and then back to 1. Should be normal. And then I'm gonna normalize this one, so I'm gonna use something like so it shouldn't go over 3, and it should be also positive at all times. So I should be getting number between 0 and 3 in here. And to do this, I could do this current state plus, I don't know, 3000. This is just a dirty trick. And then modulo 3. And this way it should always be between 0 and 3 and the positive, right? Yeah. it starts negative because probably should do this. Yeah, and if we scroll up to all the way to the 3, we get back to 0. This is what I wanted. So I want it to be also between 0 and maybe even 2. Because I don't really have a... Anyway, should be fine. I just might switch it later on. Between 0 and 2, it's going to be just a 0 and 1 then. No, between 0 and 3. All right. And this means that at any point, I have this number. So this current, I'm going to calculate this current is going to be mass flow of this current state. Now then this next is going to be this current, this scene's length, which is 3. And this progress is going to be this current state 1, right? And this way I could use this progress in here. So it's just final step now to nail all the variables in here. So what I'm doing here, I'm taking the integer parts of this progress thing, of this current state thing, and I'm using them as their current and next slides or scenes to render in this case, because I'm going to be rendering the textures. Then I'm using the how do you call it? The fractional part of this number as a progress between those sections. And this should, okay, let's cancel all of this current, this next, and this progress. And let's see what we get there. Undefined target. This render, set render target. Oh, because it's none at the start. Because current state is, why it's none at the start? So when I'm first rendering, it's somehow none. Am I rendering this too early and nothing happened yet? Yeah, probably should move this below the calculations. Right, so now we have 0, 1, 0. This does make sense. Then I'm scrolling, and on each step, okay, this should be math floor. This should be a math floor. Okay, it's 0, 1, 0, 1, and then should be 1, 2 some point when I get in. Okay, and this current state as well. Yeah, and then it switches to 1, 2. So once we get past the 1, the slides are changing to the 1, 2, and the progress is taken correctly. And then there's some error here, because it's 2 and 0. And I can't read target for some reason for this one. Why is that? So it runs okay. I just want it to loop as well. So right now we have the transitions in place, but it doesn't loop for some reason. Oh, because I'm calculating next here again, it's probably not correct. Okay, let's try to use this one. No, this is not it. So this happens when I'm doing this current +1, and I shouldn't be doing this. I should be doing just the next here. I forgot to switch this variable. Okay, now we have a looped transition. And what we can do next, we can implement the tau Tajima transition in here. And let's do this. Where was the tau Tajima again? This one should be it. This looks like a pretty big one. Yeah, this looks much simpler. So I'm gonna use the functions that I used in the tau-tajima. And I'm gonna right now implement the tau-tajima transition on this one. But Ashton, I'm really curious on what did you mean by that? Yeah, thank you guys for thanking me for what I did, because I hope to do it again, hopefully. All right, then, so let's get this transition. We have the UVs. In my case, UV is just VUV, because I'm using the post-processing. I have the progress already in place. There's a delay value, some weird value that I used at that time. And there are two textures that I'm using there. And then there's a final RGBA. Okay, let's try to do this. Let's try to convert this function to what we are doing here. So delay value is going to be, and the P being the progress. Then I have the VUV. Have delay value, clamp delay value, translate value is going to be P plus delayed value. Those seem to be, what's that Excel value? Don't really remember. Let's I'm just copying from my random copy of the tau-tajima. Could be broken one. So we have the VUV, VUV XY. And this is going to be the U texture. And I'm going to be mirroring both of those. And then there's the RGBA and probably some error in this shader, but let's find out. Translate value, VUV1 undeclared. And yeah, this is some broken version of the tau-tajima. I think I had a demo somewhere, right? Tau. I have too many tau folders now. Maybe here. Is this the one? Okay, and the last small step. Right. So I have the P, which is progress, which is exactly the way it should be in that original shader. It's just fractional of the folder, but then I'm switching it to the vec2, and it doesn't work anymore like that. And then there's a VUV1. What the hell is VUV1 anyway? Just use the same VUV. VUV1. Set 2. Yeah, it does work now. It's a bit weird. I expected it to look a little bit nicer, but we do have the tau-tajima transition on these scenes, and it's pretty cool. I wonder if the orbit controls will work with this one, like in parallel with the scrolling thing. No, well, I have to disable the zoom for the orbit controls to work, because otherwise it just zooms out. But it's pretty cool what you can do with this one, right? It also adds this, it repeats the scene, and it kind of makes it weird that the scene is more infinite than it is. In fact, it's just I don't know what should be here. Sphere. And then let's make a lot of toruses. Which one is there. Radius, tube. Okay, the radius should be this. Tubes should be this. And then the radial segments, 50. Tubular segments, 10. Should do the job. Right. That's kind of cool, actually. I can transition between all those scenes. And I mean, you could use basically any kind of transition. I decided to use Tao Tajima because it's a pretty cool one. But this is it. Well, basically, this is how you do those transitions. And this is exactly how it's done in there, except that they are hijacking the scroll and they're using use gesture and then transitioning from one scene to the other scene. And actually, if you go a little bit deeper into the Alireza website, this is actually all one scene. Like in my case, I use different scenes and one camera. In their case, it is actually one scene, but a couple of cameras. So they're using the couple of cameras from the different angles to look at the leaves, to look at some other stuff, and then they switch between them. So it's almost like a streaming of some I don't know, of some event where it has of the soccer event, let's say, where they have a couple of cameras and then switch between those two cameras for back and forth. And this is the same thing happening in here. So basically, I think there are just two cameras in here, but they're changing positions all the time, and then we switch between both of them. Right. So the idea is kind of easy, but still I hope you learned how to like transition from the different scenes, how to pre-compile those scenes, and well, yeah, and how to create some weird generative stuff. So this represents my rage after the Nova Kakhovka dam was blown. Like, it's already been 5 days, and this is so crazy, guys. This is so much. This is so sad because one of the guys I know, he used to do the beekeeping for the past 10 years, or maybe more, even more. It was like his life. I mean, yeah, it's basically was his life hobby. Of he was paying his bills with the honey that he made with those bees. And when the water came, he basically didn't have anywhere to go. And he just opened the hives of the bees because he couldn't bring them anywhere. And he just hopes now that the bees escaped, that they just went somewhere, but where would they go? I don't know. But this all sounds so sad, this like small detail that he actually took time to open all the hives of the bees so they could escape the water, because so they wouldn't be just drowned inside those wooden boxes, which are the hives basically. Right, so this is why I'm so much enraged on this neighbor country and so much hatred in me, but I'm trying to save some humanity inside of me as well. And while I do that, we come to this gray version of the website, which is kind of depression. And then I still hope I will be able to see my parents eventually, because they are on the occupied territory. But anyway, I hope you guys liked this stream, even though it wasn't that maybe tech complicated, but there are some small things that I hope that you learned, and I hope you had fun coding with me for this hour. And I'm really grateful for you coming to this stream. And I hope I will be streaming a lot more in the meantime. But yeah, it's just hard to predict. And I'm always open to the ideas. If you saw some cool website with some effect that you just don't know how to do, just share it in the Discord, share it in Twitter DMs, share it anywhere, and I will probably at some point come to this and I will share how this website is made. This one was on the awards, I think just a couple of days ago, basically maybe yesterday even. But it's a pretty cool one, and I really love the Immersive Garden guys, and they always like on the edge. Okay, I'm gonna take a time to read some chat. Maybe I missed some questions. What is this browser? This is the Arc browser by the browser company, so you could get it by the invitation. Maybe you can already just go and get it. You can create states to manage your scene props and load all props and brief states and use frame hook, I think. Yeah, I think You should be able to do that. Although I have a mixed feelings about React Fiber, to be honest. I mean, I love it. I mean, the community, the code, everything, I love it. But it kind of, it tries to look so beautiful to you, but in the end, you still need to know everything that happens underneath. You just can't go ahead and wrap everything in everything and hope that it's going to be look good. And on the next fix that client asks you, everything's just going to break. So you still have to understand everything, and kind of the mixed feelings is because it looks beautiful, but it comes at a price that you have to keep a big mental model inside your brain about what is actually happening in there, what is rendering into where, what is using what. And in vanilla, of course, it's a lot more code, a lot more. It's not that dry. But then you see everything that happens and you kind of have more control. So I'm kind of in between. But I love React Fiber, obviously, and everybody who does it. Yeah. So it's on Svelte. Well, I love it. I love Svelte and I love Svelte, obviously. But I think in those cases, it's mostly about the community and infrastructure, because in React Fiber, they're just pushing. I mean, a lot of cool guys working on this. A lot of cool studios are using it. But in Svelte, I'm not sure that it's such a big community, the same as a Svelte. I love Svelte, but the community and the infrastructure is so small, I mean, compared to other ones. Yeah, I have to dig deeper into what you mentioned in about the React Fiber frame buffer. And yeah, I'm going to post the code on the Patreon, of course. No problem with that. And from there, you can grab the template as well, because it's pretty much basically a default template here with some post-processing. So yeah, guys, I hope you liked this stream, and I will announce the next one in Twitter, and also still in the process of recording the new courses. And if somebody didn't know, I also created my own website with the courses, just one course in there with the GPU technique. I can kind of get more in depth of that and how you could use the shaders to animate a lot of objects. If you're interested, go in there. Otherwise, I'm just going to post a link in the chat for anyone interested. Otherwise, thank you for being with me, and have a good week and have a good day and stay safe, and Slava Ukraini, and see you in the next one.